Hey, everybody, and welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I am Katie Weaver, and I'm here with my sister and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. Hello.
Hello.
How was it going?
Oh, so good. I've been baking. I'm keto and learning to keto bake. I'm telling you, you kind of got to start over with the baking skills.
You
But
really
I've
do.
been getting much better. I made muffins today and I made chocolate chip pumpkin bread. Oh,
Oh,
one of
good.
my favorites this time of year. And to be able to make it keto so it's low carb is so awesome. So,
That
yeah,
sounds amazing.
it's really nice. I'm finally, it's taken a lot of practice. And I think also just palate adjustment, that you get to a point
hmm
where, oh, you're used to keto baked goods. And so it doesn't seem different. Like
Yeah.
I've been doing this for more than a year now. So it's like, this just tastes normal to me. Like a lot of sugar
Yes.
would probably just taste horrible to me because I don't have any sugar at all.
hmm
I can't imagine it's probably so sweet.
hmm Yeah.
But I'm getting the keto baking down. It's been really fun.
Well, good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. I've been in the resin room this morning pouring some
Oh,
pieces, working on some Christmas presents and some commission pieces. I have a really cool commission piece I'm working on right now, incorporating horsehair. It's
ooh,
been a really interesting project. There's 4 pieces, and working with the horsehair has been really interesting. It's
yeah.
really challenged me in designing it, and as well as like working with the hair itself. It's really coarse, and yeah. Anyway, I poured the last one today, so I'm actually super excited because they've turned out just the way I had. You cook it up in your head, and then you try to make the thing happen, and oh my god,
Right.
sometimes not at all, right? But actually, this just turned out exactly the way I was hoping it would. So
Good.
I'm thrilled with the process. So yeah. Anyway, I'll show them to you before they ship out, but they are
Yeah, that's way cool.
really cool. Yeah. So anyway, just that.
Well, sounds like fun.
Spending the day, playing on TikTok while I pour resin. That's it.
Hey,
It's a decent life, right?
it's a good life. Yes, yes.
Yep. And we had our first snow. So
Yeah, we sure did.
been a little chilly, but it is November, so we're kind of expecting it.
Right,
But
at this point, we kinda deserve it. We
yeah,
can't complain anymore. It's just
it's for
time.
sure time. Yeah. Well, Kristi, I have got a case for you. So this is a
Ooh,
case where I'm going to present the case to Kristi. It is a cold read. I seriously doubt you've ever heard of this case before. And there's some big holes and questions in it. So I think that
ooh,
you'll be able to fill in some gaps for us.
okay.
So this is 16-year-old Ashley Turniak.
Hmm.
This happened in 1998 on November 9th. Oh, wow. So we're like actually on the cusp of the anniversary of
The
it. I
anniversary. That's
didn't
interesting.
realize that till I said it. Yeah.
22 years. Wow.
22 years. So she went to Agawam High School
Okay.
in Agawam or Agawam. I'm just going to say Agawam, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And so she got to school and was late. So apparently school started about at 7:30 and she got there a little bit late, and apparently they had a policy that if you had more than 6 tardies you couldn't come to school. So she got to school late and was basically dismissed. And so she was waiting outside the school for a ride. And there had been some stories that she was just skipping school for the day and was waiting with a friend, but no friends ever came forward. And then the school finally did say no, had been dismissed for the day because she had too many late, uh, was late too many times. Anyway,
Seems like a weird way to handle lates, but okay,
right, for
whatever.
sure. So anyway, but she was waiting outside of the school and had talked to some friends and told them, that she was waiting. So at any rate, it sounds like she was waiting outside in front of the school for a ride, the last anybody knew. So the next thing that happened was about 20 minutes later, she was on I-91 southbound in Longmeadow. This was right before the Connecticut, Massachusetts state line. And
Okay.
some witness cars said that they saw her in the passenger seat of a car, struggling and looking like she was trying to wave down a state trooper. There was a state trooper in the center median, but he did not see her. And so the car just flew on past. But there were some witnesses that saw that. Before they could do anything or anything else, could be done, her body was hurled out of the passenger's window, feet
Oh
first,
my god.
feet first onto the concrete. The car, they estimate, was going somewhere between 50 and 65 miles an hour. She
And
did
a
not
person
have
could
shoes
throw
on,
someone out while driving?
or
A
she
whole
jumped out
a whole body? Wow, wow, but feet first, no?
feet first. Well,
Yeah.
there was some theories on how she would have swung herself out, but anyway, she ended up out of the car, and this was a really busy. I mean, this was, quarter to 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
There was a ton of traffic on the road. A few different cars had to swerve to avoid hitting her. But they did get her, moved to the side of the road and got an ambulance there. And she died before they could even get her to the hospital. She died on scene, from the impact of hitting the road. A little bit later down the road, or a little ways down the road, they found her backpack, like somebody had thrown it out the window. She didn't have shoes on, which, presumably she did when she got in that car. The whole thing happened so fast that none of the witnesses had a good description of the car. Some said it was blue, some said it was tan. Nobody knew what kind of car it was. This car immediately had crossed over into Connecticut and was just in the wind.
Wow.
So, in the flash of an eye, we have a dead teenager and we have nothing to go on.
Oh my god.
And again, there was just nobody knew what car she got in, who she got in with, nothing. So, one of the articles I read, someone said that they went to that school at that time and they immediately changed that tardy policy
Seems
to
wise.
not just send kids home. Also, I mean, you got to think about, just as a parent with kids in high school or any school, just, kids just coming and going and not knowing who they're with. I guess by high school, that's a little bit more normal, but,
Yeah.
they didn't know.
Mhm.
She was just waiting on the curb for a ride. So nobody knows what ride she got into, if these were people she knew or
Mhm.
people she didn't, why she was in that car, how the hell she ended up out of the car the way she did. There was some speculation that maybe the door opened and she jumped out, but the witnesses that saw it all say no, she came out the window feet first. So that's literally all that's known about the case.
Yeah.
Weren't ever any suspects. There were never no description of the car was ever released. The police just have nothing to go on. All they have is the witnesses, and there were luckily some witnesses that saw kind of what happened. But remember, this was going down a very busy road at high speeds, and it just happened so quickly. It was so shocking.
Mhm.
And there was so much traffic on that road that the car was just in the wind really quick. So that's what happened. I mean, that's the whole story. So, what do you think happened to Ashley?
Well, okay, so I see an older man who was known to the students. So this is someone who hung around the school, someone that was involved in the sports program or something, not a teacher, but somebody that the kids knew that was around and helped with various events at the school. I feel like this was somebody that the kids knew quite well, but wasn't there every day, if that makes sense. So somebody to do with it just keeps coming up. There was someone that was to do with sports,
Mhm.
but kind of everybody knew this person. So she's sitting there waiting for her ride. Um, I'm not sure she actually had a ride. I feel like she was just not sure what she was going to do. And this guy pulls up, and here's someone she knows.
Mhm.
And so she's talking to him, and he's the kind of guy. We knew a bus driver like this when we were in high school, who was, had no boundaries at all and was really pretty
Mhm.
inappropriate, particularly with the girls, but some of the girls kind of gravitated to that and kinda liked that because this older man was showing interest in them. This is the kinda guy he was. Yucky, yucky, yucky. I feel like if they went back and looked in their records that they would figure out who this person was because I don't feel like he ever came back to that school. I feel
Mhm.
like he just kept on driving and picked up his life and moved
Mhm.
and didn't come back to the school. But it was someone who was around at sometimes, like, a lot, and then other times not so much, but so it wouldn't necessarily be, um his absence wouldn't be noticed for a while.
Mhm.
So she gets him to give her a ride, and as soon as they pull out of the school parking lot, he starts getting creepy. He starts touching her, he starts threatening her, he starts telling her what he's gonna do to her, and she gets really scared, and that's what some people saw when they were driving by. I do feel like when she first got in the car that she slipped her shoes off, that this was someone that she was, feeling comfortable and safe with, that she slipped her shoes off, dropped her backpack on the floor, like, she thought that she was with someone she could trust. She had no idea who this person really was. I do feel like he was threatening to harm her and telling her what he was gonna do to her. I also feel like he was heading out of the state with her,
Mhm.
and she knew that they were not going to her house, and that so she started fighting him, trying to get out of the car. I do feel like he rolled the window down at one point and shoved her as she was trying to get, she was terrified, doing crazy things, trying to get out of the car and get away from him and begging him to pull over and let her out. And she at one point was trying to get out of the car, and I feel like he just helped her and shoved her out. And then threw her backpack out and just kept on driving. I don't think he realized he had her shoes until he was long gone.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like, he had been threatening her and touching her. I don't feel like he'd really hurt her, that it was the impact from falling, coming out of the car that did kill her,
Yeah.
but she knew. She knew she was dead. I feel like she knew she
Mhm.
was dead, and her only opportunity was to get out of the car and hopefully, survive those injuries, because if she stayed in the car with him, she was dead.
Mhm. Wow.
I feel like this was not the first time he's done something like that, and I feel like he's still continued to do things like that, but he's very savvy. I don't think he's still active now, but at that time, I feel like he was, but he was very savvy about things like being near a state line
Mhm.
and, getting to know girls. And, I would bet if, and, it's probably too late now, but they could identify him through school records that this was someone that worked on the school campus sometimes. And if they were to question some of the other girls, I bet you'd find out that some of them were having a sexual relationship with him. And this girl didn't want that.
Mhm.
She didn't get in the car with him thinking that's what was happening, and so she freaked out and started fighting him, and he had to get rid of her.
Okay. So essentially, he offered her a ride home.
Yeah. Yeah, he offered her a ride home. She asked him if,
Mhm.
and he said yes, and then he saw his opportunity there.
Mhm.
But then once they get out on that highway, then she knows the things that he's doing and saying. She knows what's happening, and she knows she's gotta get out of that car.
Mhm.
And I feel like in that moment, we all have this survival instinct that will kick in, and it's why people will do things like jump out of a moving car, because if you stay in the car, you're gonna die, and so you
Mhm.
don't necessarily think about that if you jump out of the car, you're also gonna die, but in her mind, at least, she was trying to control the situation and be safe, and so she was just trying to get away from him.
Well, it makes sense to me in that because when we were in high school, we had taken self-defense classes,
Yeah,
and they tell you that if you're being kidnapped, to go to whatever lengths to fight that you
right.
can, because if they once they get you in the car, you're dead. That's what they say, you
Mhm.
know? And so do anything you can to avoid getting in the car, and I keep thinking that that's what was in her head,
Yeah, it
so
would
she
make sense to
thought the
me.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that she knew that if she continued in the car
Mhm.
with him, she was dead.
Yep, yep. Wow. That is
Yeah,
so
oh,
wild. I have a vision of him throwing those shoes in a dumpster at a fast food restaurant.
yeah,
That he noticed he had them. He just pulled through a parking lot, just saw a closed dumpster and tossed them in,
yep,
in Connecticut somewhere,
yep,
and
and was just
no one ever found
thinking.
him or saw anything, thought anything of it. Yeah.
Well, and, in '98, this is before GPS and cell phones that had GPS, and, that before those things were common,
Mhm.
so something could have been tracked,
Yeah.
in some way.
Yeah.
I also, though, feel like the school did not wanna touch this with a 10-foot pole. Didn't wanna believe that it was anybody affiliated with them, didn't want
Mhm.
anybody else to believe it was anybody affiliated with them, and really did not try to help because they
Yeah.
didn't want anything coming back on them.
I agree. I also feel like they didn't do a good job honoring her memory, or helping students grieve. Like, it feels like they didn't. I mean, there were a lot of kids here that were, devastated by this and shocked and scared and hurt and,
Yeah.
families that were hurt. And I agree with that. I felt a real coldness around the school, that there
Mhm.
was just not what there should have been there.
Well, where they had sent her home and she was in their parking lot when she disappeared, I mean, they were
Mhm,
very afraid of being identified as part of the problem. Had they
mhm,
done their due diligence at all, they would have found this person because they knew him.
mhm,
And I don't think that they consciously knew that they did, but had they done any of their own research or watched for a while about people who didn't show up anymore,
mhm.
they would have found him.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause he was definitely known to the students, not just her, but to a lot of the students, especially the girls.
right. Him being around wouldn't have been a weird thing.
No, no, he was involved with some things that meant that he had access.
What color do you think the car actually was?
I think it's blue.
Blue.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's blue and an older car. I mean, this was '98, but I mean, even then, it seemed to be an older car to me, kind of a bigger like a bigger sedan.
Mhm. Okay. Well, wow, what a case. I was thinking, like, from a parent's point of view, can you imagine
No.
thinking your kid is at school and learning that she's just been scooped up off the side of the highway?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that all of this happened in this very short amount of time when
Mhm.
you think your kid is at school and safe.
It's also a miracle that it didn't cause any more accidents
Right.
and that one of the next cars in the row there didn't
Didn't hit
hit
her.
her. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounded like there was kind of a bit of a dust up for cars to get stopped, and
I'll
to
bet
not
it
hit her.
was.
Yeah.
I'll bet it was.
Yeah. Yep, and sadly, she tried to get the attention of the officer, and his car was turned the other direction. He was scanning traffic coming the other way and just didn't see her, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, it all happened so quickly and with no way to call or, anything.
Yeah. Yeah, what a case. It's just a really,
Just
and for
really
all
sad.
of her friends and stuff, what a shock at that age to have a friend just die like that.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, like, how that affected their community and, you know
Really makes me wonder though if some of the other girls her age had a suspicion about this man. But
it does make you wonder.
I think that he, was having sexual relationships with as many of those teenage girls as would allow, and so
Mhm.
they didn't speak up because they would be in trouble,
Right,
and they knew it,
right.
and so they didn't say anything. But I really think that there are probably some girls that went to school with her that had a pretty good idea of who did that.
Mhm. Well, and he sounds to me like one of those guys that, definitely had no problem gaslighting and,
Oh, yeah.
convincing them, if you ever told anyone about this, they would never believe you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so,
For sure, for sure.
and perhaps they maybe didn't even, you know, wouldn't have thought he would do something like this because he didn't do that to them,
Right, right.
in teenage think styles.
Exactly, and I mean, the only reason is because she was non-compliant.
Right.
She was like,
Yeah.
"I'm not doing this. This is not what I
Mhm.
want." She's fighting him, when he's telling her, "I'm gonna kill you. I can't let anybody know about
Yeah.
this, so I'm gonna have to kill you."
Mhm.
And, then her fight or flight kicked in, and she was trying to get out of the car, and he just shoved her out.
What do you think his plan was initially? I mean, was he going to a hotel, to a property? I mean, where was he headed with her?
I feel like he was headed somewhere rural, somewhere in the woods.
I wondered that too, if he had a cabin or a property somewhere that,
Yeah, I see woods,
he
I
was
see
headed to.
trees, so I think that's where he was headed with her,
Mhm.
but, he didn't have much time to make a plan either. This all happened really fast. It wasn't like he was planning to pick her up and kill her.
Yeah.
He was just driving through the parking lot when she flagged him down
Mhm.
and said, "I need a ride home. Can you give me a ride?"
Yeah.
So it was all very, very manic because
Yeah.
there was no chance to plan.
Right, very spontaneous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's really sad and very sad for Ashley's parents as well,
Mhm. I'm
and
glad
all of her classmates too.
yeah. I'm glad they changed their stupid policy.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Just,
Yeah.
you have to leave. Okay.
Right.
that wouldn't
And
that wouldn't happen now. There'd be a different way of handling that and not
well, I
just
would hope so, but sometimes policies are a little too rigid and,
right. Right,
we
right.
learn the hard way, but wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you for that.
You bet.
And you guys, thank you for being here and for listening. Now, don't forget, we are live every Wednesday night and Thursday night.
Yeah.
Wednesday nights, we do updates on cases we've been following. Sometimes we share a solved case. We do some good chit chat. We'll definitely ask you what you made for dinner.
Mhm.
We will then that we're always back for the psychic hour on Thursday nights where we do more metaphysical psychic stuff. So
Yep.
either way, we would love for you guys to join us. Those are always live streams on YouTube, on True Crime Paranormal on YouTube, as well as True Crime Paranormal on Facebook. So you can find us either way.
Yeah.
So, and find us there anyway. And
Mhm.
if you are, so drawn, please like, share, comment. That always helps us along. And go find us on Patreon. We have some extra content every month there as well for our patrons. So, but more than anything, just thanks for being here. Thanks for listening and being a part of our process. And have a super, super good day.